Welcome to Positive Healthy Living. Getting enough vitamin D intake through your diet or sun exposure isn't always easy, especially during the very long winter months. Can you guys tell I love winter? Sure, there are lots of things we can do to change in our diet or supplements we can take, but sometimes that's just not enough. In fact, vitamin D deficiency has become such a major problem for so many people that a study in 2018 found that almost 42% of Americans were vitamin D deficient. Many times these people don't even know that they're vitamin D deficient until they start to experience health issues. Add to this an increased risk of almost 80% of contracting COVID-19, and it's more important now than ever to make sure we get enough of this nutrient. So here are 20 signs that you may have vitamin D deficiency. 1. Fatigue. Feeling tired can be the result of a bunch of different factors. Lack of sleep, stressful time at work, or simply just an overscheduled life. Whatever the reason, it's not so easy to cut out or sometimes in our control. That said, vitamin D may be the contributing factor as to why you're feeling so constantly tired. According to a 2015 study published in the Global Journal of Health Science, almost 89% of the participants in the study that reported frequent fatigue were all having inadequate levels of vitamin D. Coincidence? Probably not. 2. Lower back pain. We all get sore muscles from time to time, and when we don't get a good night's rest, having an achy back the next morning isn't out of the ordinary. But for your lower back to be in constant pain, it may be worth having your doctor check your vitamin D levels. In a 2008 study published in the Canadian Journal of Geriatrics, it concluded that lower concentrations of vitamin D were linked to significant pain in women. It's funny though, but for some reason the same connection was not found in men. That said, if you have lower back soreness, you shouldn't brush it off. Check with your doctor, perhaps ask about your vitamin D levels. 3. Muscle weakness. If you notice that your muscles regularly feel weaker or are cramping more than usual, chances are pretty high that you do not have enough vitamin D. These symptoms are especially worrisome in children, as low vitamin D levels can lead to what's called rickets, which is the softening and weakening of bones in children. This is a very painful and serious condition that can be debilitating to a child's development. 4. Aching muscles. When you have persistent pain with no real explanation in your muscles, especially during these cold winter months, vitamin D deficiency could be the culprit. Getting regular exercise along with a good diet is critical to keeping your muscles strong and healthy, but let's not forget about our daily dosage of vitamin D. 5. Bone discomfort. Any aches and pains or tenderness in your bones could also be the result of vitamin D deficiency. A good test to see if you're low on vitamin D is if you feel discomfort when you put pressure over your breastbone or shin bone areas. If you feel discomfort doing this, talk to your doctor about perhaps upping your intake of vitamin D. 6. Trouble sleeping. According to sleep experts, low vitamin D levels can have a direct impact on the quality and quantity of our shut-eye, making it difficult to get any kind of restful sleep that our body really needs to stay healthy. In a 2008 study of 9,397 people, it concluded that vitamin D deficiency is indeed associated with a higher risk of sleep disorders. So guys, moral of the story, get your vitamin D if you want better sleep. 7. Hair loss. While it's not uncommon for you to naturally lose your hair as you get older, especially for us men, women may experience the issue for other reasons, and one of them could be vitamin D deficiency. A 2013 study published in the Journal of Skin Pharmacology and Physiology showed that women with hair loss had much lower levels of vitamin D than those who were not losing their hair. So if you're a woman that's losing their hair, make sure you get enough vitamin D. 8. Eczema. If you have ever had eczema, it is extremely uncomfortable and itchy. It also makes your skin red, bumpy, and dry. Basically, guys, it's awful to have. Not to mention, it can be quite unsightly and embarrassing. In case you do have eczema, it might be a good idea to have your doctor check your vitamin D levels. In a 2011 study published in the British Journal of Dermatology, it found that those participants that had low levels of vitamin D tended to show drier skin and more severe symptoms of eczema. 9. Slow healing wounds. Anyone who has had wounds that seem like they take forever to heal might need to up their intake of vitamin D. Research has shown that vitamin D levels are critical to healing wounds, and in fact are sometimes even recommended in post-surgical healing situations. 10. Getting sick often. Do you feel like you're constantly getting sick? Well, that could be due to a lack of vitamin D. In a 2010 study, researchers found that vitamin D had a direct connection to how your immune system responded and fought off viruses and infections. And on top of that, having inadequate levels of vitamin D was also associated with an increased risk of cancer, autoimmune diseases, hypertension, and infectious diseases. Yikes, did I take my vitamin D today? 11. Dizziness. When you experience episodes of dizziness, or you feel like your room is spinning, that could all come down to your vitamin D levels. According to a 2008 study, people not getting an adequate amount of vitamin D can cause this disorder to develop and persist. So taking an adequate amount of vitamin D daily is your best defense against this very uncomfortable disorder. 12. Erectile dysfunction. There are many factors that contribute to erectile dysfunction. Alcohol, smoking, high blood pressure, and diabetes are just to name a few. But according to a 2015 study by Johns Hopkins University, low vitamin D levels can be a direct cause as well. The research found that men who were low in vitamin D were 32% more likely to have erectile dysfunction than men with normal levels of that sunshine vitamin. 13. Urinary tract infections. No one wants to deal with a urinary tract infection. Urinary tract infections are typically caused when bacteria enters the urinary tract. But were you aware that having low levels of vitamin D could also be the reason behind that infection as well? According to a 2013 study published in the International Journal of Infectious Diseases, researchers found that recurrent UTIs in women were associated with low vitamin D. 14. Severe PMS symptoms. UTIs are not the only problem women face when having low vitamin D. Severe PMS symptoms such as mood swings, food cravings, and tender breasts could be the result of not having enough vitamin D in your body. Those women who upped their intake of vitamin D had a 40% lower risk of developing those sometimes unbearable aches and pains. 15. Digestive problems. Living with inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD, means dealing with inflammation of your digestive tract on a daily basis, which results in diarrhea, abdominal pain, and fatigue. And it turns out making sure you get the right amount of vitamin D in your body can lower your risk of having to deal with this very difficult condition. Not only does low vitamin D increase your risk of developing IBD, but if you do happen to get a case of it, low vitamin D is a factor in its severity. 16. Being overweight. If you happen to be overweight, you may want to look at your vitamin D levels. Research has found that obese individuals are 35% more likely to be lacking in the right amount of vitamin D in their system. This could be a direct result from the poor choices that they tend to make in their diet, but also the tendency to not get out as much and not get the sun's natural vitamin D benefits. 17. Depression. The cold, sunless winter months definitely aren't good for your vitamin D levels, and that's bad news for your mood. With a vitamin D deficiency, an individual is more likely to experience depression since the vitamin D receptors help generate and regulate mood. And there's science to back this up, as there was an extensive study done with almost 31,500 participants, and the results were overwhelming, with low levels of vitamin D having associated with depression. 18. Joint and inflammation pain. There's a ton of reasons that are responsible for joint issues, but this one you probably don't hear of very often. Low vitamin D levels. Low vitamin D levels in the blood cause an inflammatory response, causing pain and inflammation in joints. So if there's no other explanation that you can think of behind your joint pain, check your vitamin D levels. 19. Pneumonia. Unfortunately, the common cold might be the worst result of low vitamin D, but coming down with pneumonia may also be connected to low levels of this nutrient. There's a link between vitamin D and pneumonia. Deficient individuals are 2.5 times more likely to get pneumonia due to a weakened immune system. If that's not a case to make sure you get your daily dose of vitamin D, I don't know what is. 20. Excessive sweating. Sweating under many circumstances is normal. An intense workout, sweltering hot weather conditions, or just simply sitting in a steam room are all completely normal situations where you could be sweating. But when it occurs in less extreme scenarios, that could indicate a problem. If you are excessively sweating under normal or moderate activity, this could be a sign of vitamin D deficiency. Be sure to check with your doctor, as there is a condition called hyperhidrosis, where people do suffer from this condition where they do sweat excessively. So there you have it, 20 signs that you may be vitamin D deficient. Have you ever experienced vitamin D deficiency? Let us know in the comments below on what symptoms you've had. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to never miss any of our new videos. Thanks again for watching, and as always, go live life positive and healthy.